Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about how to figure out the anatomy of a cartoon character. I've been asked specifically about skeletons and muscles and possibly even organs. So that is what I'm going to be focusing on in this video today. Hi, my name is Luis Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist on the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 20 years. Um, Ideally, you ought to, well, in animation, you can't really get into a drawing position if you don't really know how to draw well, and that includes knowing your anatomy. So, um, the number one thing that you have to do in order to be able to pull this off is you have to study anatomy. Now, and I'm talking about you really, as an artist, we really need to know how to do these muscles here, all these things here. Okay? And yes, a lot of us even learn all the names of all the muscles. You also do absolutely need to know what the skull looks like from different angles. The skeleton, what you ought to be able to a certain extent, be able to draw the skeleton and the muscles of the figure from memory. So that's how much study you have to do um, when when you're learning to draw. You need to know all this stuff. Okay, so one of the very first things we tend to do as artists is, at least in the animation industry, is not only do we have a ton of anatomy books, but we also go to figure drawing and see how these muscles look like in nature, in actual people. So it's the reason why we do so much figure drawing. Here's an example of one of my figure drawings sessions here. So done in pen and ink. Uh, so it is, I'm paying attention to all these muscle masses and what they're doing here. And I'm actually indicating them with shadow patterns. But these are all present there. The muscle masses are there. Okay, see, here's another muscle mass in the way they squish and come together. So one of the most famous uh, examples of, and I mean famous in the animation world, examples of an artist really taking, say, their study of human anatomy and applying it to a character is Glen Keane's Tarzan. So what he ended up doing was when he designed Tarzan, he did these muscle drawings on top of his drawing so that he could really work out the way the muscles work on his character. So he really actually like showed the muscle groups of the character. See, so this is what his drawing looks like, all cartoony, but this is really what's going on here. So like this shape here is actually all of these shapes. Do you see? So like his drawings look really rough, but inside the drawings, inside there's real muscles doing real things in the drawing. Which brings me to point number two. Depending on the style of the cartoon, a character is made up of exaggerated anatomy. So what I mean by that is the style. If you have SpongeBob SquarePants, he's not going to really have muscles. He's a sponge, okay? He's just a square block. And like you could make a joke of him having all kinds of muscles, but in general, like somebody like SpongeBob wouldn't have this kind of muscle. But depending on the style, like this style lends itself much more to showing the muscles. Do you see? So this is the style of cartoon character that would have be much more representational of muscles, of having muscles. So depending on the style of cartoon, a character is made up of exaggerated anatomy. This is why it's important to know how to draw naturalistic to be able to draw cartoons. So in animation, again, going back to the figure drawing, we in animation, um, these figure drawings were done recently by me. That's because to this day I still go to figure drawing. I figure draw every Tuesday at a workshop at work so I could keep honing my skills. In animation, in order to get into a drawing position, once upon a time, we had to have portfolios full of figure drawings in order to be able to prove that we could draw cartoons, believe it or not. And why is that? It's because we deal with exaggerated reality. We deal with characters that, even though they are cartoony and pushed, within them, they do have some kind of muscle logic to them. And that goes to just about any naturalistic cartoon. So it really does help to have a working knowledge of the anatomy, which is the reason why you have to study anatomy as much as you can. All right. I work on The Simpsons, and sometimes we have to draw Homer skeleton. And yeah, so it's not unheard of. Like even cartoony characters at some level have some kind of anatomy to them. Okay, so knowing your anatomy, even in the most bizarre type cartoony characters, it does help to a certain extent, even if you're not really drawing realistic looking characters. I've had to draw Homer's skeleton a few times. It helps to know your anatomy so that when you're put in a situation where you have to draw a character's skeleton or whatever, you know what you're doing. What anatomy books do I recommend for you as artists? I'm going to recommend a few books. The first of the books that I recommend is Living Anatomy, a photographic atlas of muscles in action and surface contours. This is not actually a anatomy book. It's a very old book with a lot of very old photographs, but what it does is it shows you how the actual muscles work on the surface of the body. And it's ridiculously handy because when you start studying the actual muscles themselves, you have a tendency of over drawing the muscles. If you want them to look as natural as possible, you got to know what they actually look like on the surface. And this book is just full of photographs so that you could see how they actually are practically applied. The muscles are practically applied to a drawing. Okay, so the next book I'm going to recommend is Artistic Anatomy. This book is a little bit wordy and a little technical. It's almost useless, quite frankly, except for the fact that perhaps the last 20 pages of the book have some of the best anatomy reference you can have when breaking down a body. Well, not 20, but like half the book. It breaks down the body into tiny pieces, and you actually get to see the layers of the muscles, what the muscles look like. They also have pictures of the arms in supination in different uh, levels of supination. Um, it's really, really thorough anatomy book overall. Um, it's one of the best anatomy books I've seen. It really does break down the anatomy into tiny bits so that you could actually really see it. It goes down to nerves. It even talks about again the superficial, how what the muscles actually look like on top of it. Um, it's done through some amazing artwork that really clarifies what is being said. I kind of wish that the first half of the book wasn't so wordy, but you're basically paying for the second half, which is full of amazing illustrations and amazing examples and explanation of the anatomy. And finally, the third book I'm going to be talking about is Bridgman's Complete Guide to Drawing from Life. And this is absolutely not anywhere near an accurate anatomy book by any means. Um, However, it does what it does do is it breaks the muscles down into interlocking uh, blocks and shapes that make it easier for artists to at least put in a good solid lay-in of what the muscles ought to look like. Okay? So with the Bridgman book, if you want to start, once you block in the muscles using Bridgman, you can go back and really study them with um, the artistic anatomy, which in turn then you can see what they would look like superficially on the surface using the living anatomy photographic atlas of muscles in action and surface contours. So those are the three books I recommend for you if you want to study anatomy. And I'll have links to all of these books in the description below. All right, so I hope that answers your question. Thank you for watching. If you found this information valuable, I highly encourage you to go to my Patreon and become one of my Patreon account and become one of my patrons. If you do, for $1 a month, you actually get to watch these videos long before anybody else does. Also, my patrons get the special treatment of getting their answers for whatever questions they have for me first. So if you have a question that you want me to answer in a video, and there's another person who also asks me a question who is not one of my patrons, your question, because you're my patron, gets answered first before I even touch somebody else's question. That is as a thank you from me to you for being a patron. So again, thank you for watching. If you found value in this video, I'd really appreciate it if you would return value in return. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.